The transport shuttle touched down on the main deck of the Nexus Prime with barely a whisper. Ji-Woo stepped out carrying a single bag, her boots making soft clicks against the metal floor. Around her, dozens of alien cadets rushed past, their voices filling the massive hangar with excited chatter in languages she had studied, but never spoken aloud. She moved to the side and watched. A tall Vrelian, easily 8 feet in height with blue-scaled skin, was showing off his ceremonial weapons to a crowd of admirers. A group of Korthax cadets, their multiple arms gesturing wildly, were arguing about battle strategies from their home-world wars. Dacian pilots with their sleek wings folded against their backs laughed together near their ships. Nobody looked at the small human woman standing alone. Ji-Woo preferred it that way. She adjusted the strap of her bag and followed the marked path toward the cadet quarters. Her eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail. Emergency exits placed every 50 meters. Security cameras at each intersection. The slight vibration in the deck plates that told her the ship's engines were running at 70% capacity. Old habits died hard. The orientation hall was massive, designed to hold thousands. Ji-Woo found a seat in the back row and sat down quietly. More cadets filed in, the noise growing louder. She pulled out a data pad and appeared to read, but her ears caught every conversation around her. Commander Zeltos entered, and the room fell silent. The Vrelian commander was impressive, his dress uniform covered in medals from a dozen campaigns. He spoke about honor, duty, and the proud tradition of the Galactic Coalition Academy. His eyes swept the crowd and paused briefly on Ji-Woo before moving on. She saw the slight dismissal in that glance. She had seen it many times before. After the ceremony, cadets were assigned to their squads. Ji-Woo found her name on the list for Squad 17. She made her way to the designated meeting room and arrived first. One by one, her new squad members entered. Vrex came first, the same tall Vrelian from the hangar. He looked at Ji-Woo and frowned. "You are the human?" His voice was deep and carried the tone of someone used to being a maid. "Yes," Ji-Woo said simply. "I am Vrex, son of Vraxen, champion of the Northern Wars. I have killed enemies with my bare hands since I was 10 cycles old." He waited for her response. Ji-Woo nodded once. Vrex seemed confused by her silence, but continued. "What are your qualifications, human?" "I passed the entrance tests," she said. Before Vrex could respond, Tholas entered. The Korthax was shorter, but moved with the confidence of a predator. His 4 arms crossed as he examined Ji-Woo. "A human? How interesting. I have studied your species. You are weak physically, short-lived, and your technology is primitive compared to the Coalition standard." "That is correct," Ji-Woo said, her voice flat. Tholas tilted his head. "No argument? No defense of your species? Would it change the facts?" Ji-Woo asked. The Korthax laughed. "I like her honesty at least. I am Tholas. I graduated top of my class in tactical warfare at the Korthax Military Institute. My strategies have been published in 3 academic journals." Ji-Woo said nothing, just met his gaze steadily until he looked away. Nira arrived last, her wings brushing the doorframe as she entered. The Veshan pilot moved with grace, her silver eyes sharp and intelligent. "My apologies for being late. I was inspecting the fighter craft assigned to our squad." She looked at each member and paused at Ji-Woo. "A human. I did not realize Earth had joined the exchange program." "Recently," Ji-Woo said. "Can you fly?" Nira asked. "Yes. Combat experience?" "Some." Nira waited for more, but Ji-Woo remained silent. The Veshan's expression showed her doubt clearly. "Well, we shall see." The squad's first week was difficult. During combat simulations, Ji-Woo performed adequately but never stood out. She hit targets, but was not the fastest. She completed obstacle courses, but did not break records. She answered questions correctly, but never volunteered information. Her silence became a joke among the squad. "Did you see the mute human today?" Frex said one evening in the mess hall, his voice carrying across several tables. I asked her to describe her home world, and she said, "It has water." That was all. Other cadets laughed. Ji-Woo sat 3 tables away, eating her meal slowly and staring at nothing in particular. THOL has joined in. Perhaps humans are naturally quiet because they have nothing worth saying. Their military history is brief and insignificant compared to ours. More laughter. Ji-Woo took another bite of her food. Only one cadet did not laugh. Pilo, a young Korthax assigned to a neighboring squad, watched Gi-Woo carefully. He had noticed something the others missed. During the simulation exercises, he had seen her eyes. They moved like a scanner, tracking every detail, every movement. When the others rushed forward blindly, she always checked corners first. When they celebrated victories, she studied the replay data alone. In the second week, Squad 17 ran their first major simulation. They were tasked with capturing a fortified position defended by automated systems. Tholas designed the strategy, a complex 3-pronged attack that he explained in detail. Ji-Woo listened quietly. When Tholas finished, she spoke. The eastern approach has overlapping fields of fire. The first wave will take heavy casualties. Tholas frowned. I have accounted for that. Our armor will sustain the initial bombardment. The simulation uses Mark 7 defense turrets. Their cycle rate is higher than standard. The armor will fail in approximately 40 seconds. How do you know the turret specifications? Nira asked. I read the simulation parameters, Ji-Woo said. They are available in the mission brief. Frex laughed. She worries too much. Tholas's strategy is sound. We will overwhelm them with speed and force. Ji-Woo said nothing more. The simulation was a disaster. The eastern approach proved to be exactly what Ji-Woo had warned about. The squad's virtual armor failed in 38 seconds, and they suffered 70% casualties before retreating. Tholas blamed the simulation's difficulty settings. Frex blamed bad luck. Nira said nothing, but looked frustrated. Ji-Woo returned to her quarters and sat on her bunk. She pulled out a locked data chip from her bag and stared at it for a long time. Next to it was an old photograph, faded and creased. It showed a younger version of herself in a military uniform, surrounded by thousands of soldiers. Her face in the photo was harder, colder. The woman in that picture looked like she never smiled. Ji-Woo put the items away carefully and lay down. Through the wall, she could hear her squad mates arguing about the failed simulation, their voices angry and frustrated. She closed her eyes and saw other faces. Faces of people who had followed her orders. Faces that no longer existed anywhere, except in her memory. Tomorrow would be another day of silence. Another day of being overlooked and dismissed. It was easier this way. Better to be laughed at than to be the person in that photograph again. But deep down, in a place she tried hard to ignore, a part of her remained awake. The part that calculated odds, analyzed threats, and prepared for the inevitable moment when silence would no longer be enough. The morning alarm echoed through the cadet quarters at precisely 0600 hours. Ji-Woo was already awake, dressed, and reviewing tactical data on her pad when the other cadets began stumbling out of their rooms. She had been awake for 2 hours, a routine her body refused to abandon, no matter how much she tried to relax. Commander, Zeltos made an announcement during breakfast. The War Games tournament begins in 4 weeks. Each squad will compete in increasingly complex military simulations. The winning squad will receive honors and advancement opportunities. You will be judged on strategy, execution, teamwork, and adaptability. Excitement rippled through the mess hall. This tournament was legendary. Winners often received immediate commissions in the coalition, military, or prestigious positions on their home worlds. Squad 17 gathered after the meal to begin planning. Tholas spread out a holographic display showing the tournament structure. We must approach this systematically. Our first match is against Squad 9, a team of primarily Vishan pilots. They will favor aerial tactics. Frex pounded his fist on the table. We counter with ground superiority. Overwhelm them with force. Too simple, Nira said, her wings rustling. They will expect that. We need deception. The argument continued for an hour. Ji Woo sat quietly in the corner, watching the holographic display. She noticed patterns in Squad 9's previous simulation results. They always committed their forces early, betting everything on initial superiority. They had never faced a prolonged engagement. We should bait them, Ji Woo said softly. The others stopped talking and looked at her. What did you say? Tholas asked. Bait them. Show weakness in our aerial defense. When they commit their forces, collapse the flanks inward. They have no experience with extended battles. Frex snorted. Ridiculous. Show weakness? That is cowardice. It is strategy, Ji Woo said. Your strategy lost us the last simulation, Tholas said coldly. Oh wait, you had no strategy. You just pointed out problems without offering solutions. I offered a solution. Use the southern approach. You chose not to listen. The Korthax's 4 arms crossed. The southern approach had less cover, but no overlapping fire zones. The casualties would have been minimal. Enough, Nira interrupted. We are wasting time. Tholas and I will design the strategy. Frex will lead the ground assault. Human. You will provide support as needed. Ji Woo nodded and said nothing more. She saw Pylo watching from a nearby table, his expression thoughtful. The first tournament simulation arrived. Squad 17 executed Tholas's plan with precision. It worked initially. Squad 9's pilots were caught off guard by the aggressive ground assault. But then the simulation introduced a complication that nobody had prepared for. Environmental hazards that grounded all aerial units. Suddenly, both teams were fighting on equal ground, and Squad 9 adapted faster. They regrouped and used terrain advantages that Tholas had not studied. Squad 17 lost by a narrow margin. The squad was quiet after the defeat. Frex broke the silence. Bad luck. The environmental change was unfair. The tournament parameters clearly stated that random complications would be introduced, Ji Woo said, still reviewing the replay data. It was in the briefing document, Section 7. Nobody reads Section 7, Nira muttered. That is why we lost, Ji Woo replied. Tholas glared at her. Perhaps if you had contributed more during planning, instead of sitting silently, we would have considered more variables. I mentioned 3 variables during planning. All 3 were dismissed, because they were overly cautious. Ji Woo looked at him steadily. Caution keeps people alive. Something in her tone made Tholas pause, but then he shook his head. This is a simulation, human. Nobody dies here. Ji Woo returned to her quarters without responding over the next week. Squad 17 won 2 simulations and lost 1 more. Each time, Ji Woo made quiet observations that were ignored. Each time, the problems she predicted came true. But each time, the squad found other reasons for their failures. Pylo started appearing near Ji Woo during training sessions. He did not speak to her at first, just observed. During a weapons proficiency test, he watched as she scored consistently in the expert range. Not the highest scores, but every shot was controlled and precise. No wasted movement, no hesitation. After the test, he approached her. You shoot like someone who has done it before. Not in training. In real situations. Ji Woo cleaned her weapon and said nothing. My family has military traditions going back generations, Pilo continued. I learned to recognize true soldiers. You are one. I am a cadet, Ji Woo said simply. That is not an answer. She looked at him directly. It is the only answer I am giving. Pilo nodded slowly. Fair enough. But I watch you. During simulations, your eyes never stop moving. You see everything. Why do you not speak up more? They do not listen. Make them listen. Ki Woo shook her head slightly. It is not my place. Then whose place is it? She did not answer, and Pilo left her alone. 2 days later, a new instructor arrived on the Nexus Prime. Captain Haiyan Wu was human, a liaison officer from Earth's military. During his first address to the human cadets, his eyes found Ji Woo in the crowd. Something passed between them, a recognition that made Ji Woo look away quickly. After the address, he approached her. Cadet Lee. Captain, she responded formally. How are you finding the academy? Adequate. Haiyan Wu smiled slightly. Still using minimal words, I see. Some things never change. He paused. Your file is sealed at the highest levels. The other cadets do not know. That is preferred, is it? Or are you hiding? Ji Woo met his eyes. I am moving forward, sir. Forward by pretending to be something you are not? Forward by being what I choose to be. Haiyan Wu studied her face for a long moment. You cannot run from yourself forever, Commander. I am not a commander, Ji Woo said firmly. Not anymore. We will see, Haiyan Wu replied. He handed her a data chip. Your personal effects from storage. I thought you might want them back. Ji Woo took the chip, but did not look at it. After Haiyan Wu left, she returned to her quarters and inserted the chip into her terminal. Files appeared. Military records, battle reports, commendations, and casualty lists. So many casualty lists. She deleted nothing but locked everything behind a new encryption. Then she went to the training room and ran combat drills alone until exhaustion forced her to stop. That night, Squad 17 gathered for another strategy session. The next simulation was their most important yet. A victory would advance them to the final rounds of the tournament. Tholas presented his plan, which was complex and relied on perfect timing. Ji Woo listened and then spoke. Your timeline does not account for equipment preparation. The setup phase will take longer than you calculated. I have calculated based on standard procedures, Tholas said. Standard procedures assume optimal conditions. Murphy's Law suggests planning for delays. Vrex laughed. Murphy's Law? What is that? A human superstition. An observation. If something can go wrong, it will. Especially in combat. This is not combat, Nira said. This is a simulation. Ji Woo looked at her, but said nothing more. The simulation ran the next day. Everything went wrong, exactly as Ji Woo had predicted. Equipment took longer to set up. Communications had unexpected lag. The tight timeline collapsed, and the squad scrambled to adapt. They lost. Vrex threw his helmet across the room afterward. This is ridiculous. How can we plan for random failures? They are not random, Ji Woo said quietly. They are predictable if you account for human error and system limitations. Then why did you not insist we change the plan? Tholas demanded. I did suggest changes. You called them cowardly. The Korthax had no response to that. Commander Zeltos entered the debriefing room. Squad 17, your performance has been inconsistent. You have the individual skills to succeed, but you lack cohesion. Unless this improves, I will consider reassigning members to other squads. His eyes lingered on Ji Woo. The message was clear. After he left, the squad sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Nira spoke. Perhaps we should listen more carefully to all suggestions, even ones that seem overly cautious. It was a small concession, but Ji Woo recognized it for what it was. The beginning of something changing. That night, alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the ship. The alarms were wrong. Ji Woo knew it instantly. She had heard thousands of alarms in her life, and these were not the standard drill tones. These were combat alerts, the kind that meant real danger was approaching fast. She grabbed her uniform jacket and ran toward the corridor. Other cadets were stumbling out of their quarters, confused and half asleep. Most thought it was another surprise training exercise. "Is this a drill?" Someone shouted, "Get to your assigned stations." An instructor yelled. Running past Ji Woo moved against the flow of confused cadets, heading toward the command simulation deck where Squad 17 had been scheduled for morning exercises. The ship shuddered. That was not a simulation vibration. That was weapons fire hitting shields. She reached the simulation deck and found it filled with cadets from multiple squads. They had all been assembled for the final tournament simulation. Approximately 40 cadets from different species, all looking around in confusion. Vrex spotted Ji Woo and waved her over. "Human, what is happening? Is this part of the tournament?" Before Ji Woo could answer, the lights flickered and died. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. A massive explosion rocked the ship, throwing several cadets to the floor. The main screen crackled to life, showing Commander Zelthus's face. He looked injured, blood running from a cut above his eye. "All cadets, this is not a drill. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Multiple breaches on decks 7 through 12. Senior staff is responding, but communications are compromised. Remain at your current positions and await further orders." The screen went dead. Silence filled the room for exactly 3 seconds. Then panic erupted. "We are going to die. We need to get to the escape pods. Where are the weapons?" Cadets ran in different directions. Some tried to force open doors. Others huddled together. A few attempted to establish communications, but found all channels jammed. Another explosion, closer this time. The deck plate beneath them buckled slightly. Smoke began seeping through ventilation shafts. Thalas tried to establish order. "Everyone, listen. We need to stay calm and organize a defense." Nobody listened. The panic was spreading like fire. Nira grabbed a weapons locker and found it nearly empty. Only 6 pulse rifles and some basic equipment. "That is not enough for all of us." Frex shouted. A Vishan cadet near the door screamed. "They are coming. I can hear them in the corridor. They are cutting through." The sound of plasma cutters echoed from beyond the sealed doors. The enemy was methodically working their way through the ship. Ji Woo stood in the center of the chaos, her mind working rapidly. She counted cadets. 43 total. She assessed their positions. The room had 3 exits, but 2 were blocked by debris. She calculated time. Maybe 4 minutes before the enemy breached their position. Her hands trembled slightly. She had promised herself never to do this again. Never to take command. Never to be responsible for other lives. But she looked at these young cadets, many barely adults, and saw her own soldiers from years ago. She made a decision. "Everyone, be silent, now." Her voice was not loud, but it cut through the panic like a blade. Something in her tone made every cadet stop and turn toward her. The room went quiet. Ji Woo stood straight, her entire demeanor transforming. The quiet, dismissible girl disappeared, replaced by something else entirely. Her eyes swept the room with the precision of a scanner, categorizing every person, every resource, every tactical option. "I need a full situation report," she said, her voice calm and commanding. Weapon status, available personnel, structural integrity. Move. Nira blinked in surprise, but responded automatically. 6 pulse rifles functional. Personal sidearms, 12 units. Structural integrity, approximately 70% in this section. Good. Personnel count? 43 cadets, Tholas answered, his voice uncertain. Species breakdown? Pylo responded, his voice steady. 15 Vrelians, 12 Korthax, 8 Thesians, 5 humans, 3 others. Ji Woo nodded. How many have combat training beyond academy basics? Silence. Then a few hands raised slowly. 7 cadets. How many have weapons proficiency scores above 80%? More hands. 11 cadets. Tholas stepped forward, his 4 arms crossed. Who are you to give orders, human? We should decide together as a group. Ji Woo looked at him steadily. We have 4 minutes before they breach this section. Possibly less. You want to hold a democratic discussion? You cannot just take command. Another explosion, much closer. The doors began to glow red as plasma cutters started working on them. 3 minutes now, Ji Woo said calmly. She raised her voice slightly. Follow my commands or die. Your choice. Decide now. Frex grabbed a pulse rifle. I say we listen to her. What do we have to lose? Before anyone else could respond, Captain Haiyan Wu's voice broke through on the emergency communication channel, crackling with static. All cadets in the simulation deck, report status. This is Cadet Lee, Ji Woo responded immediately. 43 personnel, minimal weapons, under immediate threat. Request orders. There was a pause. Then Haiyan Wu's voice came back, clear and firm. Cadets, if Commander Lee Ji Woo is present, transfer command to her immediately. That is a direct order from Earth Military Command. The room erupted in confusion. Commander? Nira repeated. What is he talking about? Pylo had already pulled up a terminal that still had partial power. His multiple hands worked quickly, accessing coalition databases. I am searching her file. It is heavily encrypted, but... His eyes widened as information flooded the screen. He turned the display toward the other, cadets. The screen showed Ji Woo's image. Younger, but unmistakably her, in a high-ranking military uniform. Text scrolled beside the image. Commander Lee Ji Woo, Supreme Commander of the Human Defense Forces, Siege of Proxima Campaign. Led 300,000 human soldiers against the Krothix invasion. Held the Proxima system for 14 months against overwhelming odds. Architect of the Glacier Protocol. Final statistics. Human casualties, 127,000. Enemy casualties, 2.4 million. Result, total victory. Voluntary resignation following campaign end. Psychological evaluation. Severe survivor guilt, selective mutism. Classified status. Stunned silence filled the room. Vrex stared at the screen, then at Ji Woo. The Siege of Proxima. That was real? I thought it was coalition propaganda. The Glacier Protocol, Tholas whispered. We studied it at the Academy. It is considered theoretically impossible. No commander could coordinate those movements. A young Thesian cadet spoke, her voice shaking. You commanded 300,000 soldiers? You fought the Krothix? Ji Woo stood motionless, her face expressionless. Then she spoke quietly. We did not have the luxury of theory. We had people dying. Now, I need 3 teams. The doors were nearly breached. The glow of plasma cutters had spread across half the entrance. 2 minutes, Ji Woo said. She began pointing at cadets rapidly. You, and you. Team 1, weapons detail. Vrex, you lead. Position yourselves behind those containers for cover. You will fire in controlled bursts on my command only. Frex grabbed the other 3 cadets and moved immediately. You, and you. Team 2, technical detail. Fellas, you lead. Get into the simulation control systems. I need you to override the environmental controls for this section. What are you planning? Tholas asked. Venting the adjacent corridor once they breach. It will disorient them and give us a tactical advantage. Can you do it? Tholas nodded slowly. Yes, I can do that. Then move. Ji Woo continued assigning roles. Every cadet received a specific task based on their species' strengths and individual skills. She positioned the Veshans near the ceiling supports where their wings gave them advantage. She placed Korthax with multiple arms at positions where they could operate equipment while defending. She sent the smallest, fastest cadets to establish communication relays through the ventilation systems. What about the wounded? Nira asked. 3 cadets had been injured in the initial explosions. You are medical detail. Move them to the far corner, behind double cover. Protect them first. Nira hesitated. I am a pilot, not a medic. You have steady hands and clear thinking under pressure. That makes you the medic today. Go. Nira went. The doors finally breached. Armed figures in heavy combat armor began pouring through the opening, at least 15 of them. Team 1, do not fire, Ji Woo commanded. Let them enter. Let them commit. Frex's voice came back tense. They are coming in. We need to shoot. Hold, trust me. 3 more seconds. The enemy forces spread out, assuming the room was undefended. They moved with confidence, weapons raised but not yet firing. Tholas, vent the corridor behind them. Now. The simulation systems, designed to create realistic environments, still had partial power. Tholas used them to override the atmospheric controls. The corridor behind the enemy forces suddenly vented its air into space. The attackers were not pulled out due to their magnetic boots, but the sudden decompression created confusion and disorientation. Team 1, fire now. Controlled bursts. Aim for joints in their armor. Pulse rifle fire erupted from multiple positions. The enemy had expected panicked cadets shooting wildly. Instead, they faced coordinated, precise fire from concealed positions. 3 attackers went down immediately. Ceiling team, drop the support panels, now. The Veshan cadets cut the support cables they had been assigned to position near. Heavy panels crashed down, separating the enemy force into smaller groups. Korthax squads, engage targets in sections B and C Vrelians, close combat on section A move. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Ji Woo stood in the center, her voice steady and constant, directing every movement like a conductor leading an orchestra of violence. The enemy forces had expected easy targets. They had anticipated confused cadets with minimal training and no leadership. What they found instead was organized, resistance that struck with precision and purpose. Ji Woo moved through the battle space like she was reading a script only she could see. Her eyes tracked every movement, calculated every angle, predicted every enemy response. It was not talent. It was muscle memory, built from thousands of hours of real combat. Section A, the tall Vrelian on your left is reaching for a grenade. Tholas, hit him now. A pulse blast caught the attacker's arm before he could throw. The grenade clattered to the floor, and Ji Woo's voice remained calm. Pylo, grenade at your 2 o'clock position. You have 3 seconds to get it back through the door. Pylo's 4 arms snatched the grenade and threw it in one fluid motion. The explosion in the corridor took out 2 more enemy soldiers. Teams B and C collapse inward. Push them toward the center. Do not let them regroup. The cadets moved as instructed. The Vrelians used their strength to engage in close quarters. The Korthaks used their multiple arms to grab weapons while fighting. The Veshans used their aerial advantage to attack from unexpected angles. One enemy soldier broke through the line, charging directly at Ji Woo. She did not move, did not call for help. As he raised his weapon, she sidestepped with minimal motion, grabbed his arm, and used his momentum to throw him into a wall. A Vrelian cadet finished the job with a rifle strike. "Commander, more coming through the breach." Vrex shouted, "Seal it. Use the broken panels. Make them climb over obstacles. Slow them down." The cadets dragged debris to block the entrance. It would not hold forever, but it bought precious time. Ji Woo accessed a working terminal. "Tholas, I need building schematics. Where are the main power conduits for this section?" "Northwest corner, behind the blue panels." "Can we overload them?" "Yes, but the explosion would destroy this entire room." "I am not planning to be here when it happens." "Can you set a timer?" Tholas understood immediately. 5 minutes minimum for a safe distance. "Do it. Set it for 7 minutes. We are evacuating." A young human cadet near Ji Woo looked terrified. "Where do we go? The corridors are full of enemies." Ji Woo pulled up the schematic. Her finger traced a path through the ventilation systems. "Here, the air ducts connect to maintenance corridors. They will be tight, but all species here can fit. We move through there to the secondary hangar bay. That is 5 decks away." Nira protested. "Which is why we start moving now." "Tholas, how long for the timer?" "Setting it now. 7 minutes starting ... now. Everyone, listen carefully." Ji Woo raised her voice. "We are evacuating through the ventilation system. Wounded first, then by squad order. Stay quiet. Stay together. If you fall behind, you die. Understood?" Nods all around. "Move." The cadets began climbing into the ventilation shafts. Ji Woo positioned herself at the entrance, covering their escape with a pulse rifle. The enemy forces regrouped and pushed against the barricaded door. Vrex stayed behind with her. "I will help cover the retreat." "No, you go first. Lead them through the ducts. Your strength will be needed to open blocked passages." "What about you?" "I go last." "Now move. That is an order." Vrex hesitated but obeyed. One by one, the cadets disappeared into the ducts. Ji Woo fired controlled bursts at the doorway, not to kill but to suppress, to make the enemy cautious. The timer showed 5 minutes remaining. Pylo was second to last. "Commander, you need to go now. After you. There is no time for honor here. And stop arguing and climb." Pylo climbed. Ji Woo fired one last burst and followed him into the ventilation shaft, pulling the grate closed behind her. The ducts were narrow and dark. Ji Woo crawled quickly, following the sounds of the cadets ahead. Behind her, she heard enemy forces breaking through into the room they had just left. They would discover the empty space and the power overload within seconds. "Faster," Ji Woo called forward. "We need distance." The explosion came exactly 7 minutes after Tholas had said it. The ventilation shaft shook violently, and Ji Woo felt the pressure wave push past her. Smoke and heat followed, but the blast had been contained in the simulation room. As planned. They kept moving. The ducts eventually opened into maintenance corridors. The cadets helped each other out, exhausted but alive. "Count off," Ji Woo ordered. The cadets called out numbers. 43. Everyone had made it. 3 injured. "But stable," Nira reported. Ji Woo nodded and accessed a wall terminal. The ship's systems were still compromised, but she had access codes from her time as a military commander that still worked. She pulled up tactical information. "The attack is concentrated on the upper decks," she said. studying the data. The enemy wants the bridge and command center. They have not fully secured the lower sections. What is their goal? Tholas asked. Likely capture, not destruction. If they wanted to destroy the ship, they would have done so already. They want something here. Maybe prisoners, maybe technology. So what do we do? A young cadet asked. Ji Woo looked at the group. They were tired, scared, but they were looking at her with trust now. She remembered this feeling, the weight of people depending on her decisions. She had tried so hard to leave this behind. We need to reach the secondary hangar, Ji Woo said. There are escape pods and small craft there, but the enemy will have forces blocking that route. Then we fight through, Vrex said, gripping his captured enemy rifle. No, we avoid fighting when possible. Our goal is survival, not glory. We move quietly, we avoid detection, and we only engage if cornered. She assigned the cadets into smaller groups. Each group had a mix of species and skills. She gave each team leader a route and a fallback position. If they were separated, they knew where to regroup. They moved through the maintenance corridors like ghosts. Ji Woo led the first team, using her knowledge of ship layouts to find paths the enemy would not expect. When they encountered enemy patrols, she directed the teams through alternate routes. Once, they were nearly discovered. Enemy soldiers passed within meters of their hiding spot in a storage room. Ji Woo made a hand signal, and every cadet froze. Nobody breathed. The soldiers moved on, unaware. They reached the secondary hangar after 40 minutes of careful movement. The hangar was large and filled with small craft, escape pods, and equipment. It also had approximately 20 enemy soldiers guarding it. Ji-Woo gathered the team leaders. We cannot avoid this fight. They control the only exit. But we have advantages. We know this ship better than they do. We can use the environment. She outlined the plan quickly. It was risky, but it used every resource they had. The Veshans would create a distraction using the hangar's crane systems. The Korthax would disable the lights. The Vrelians would lead the main assault from 3 different directions simultaneously. The humans and others would secure the escape craft and prepare them for launch. Timing is critical, Ji Woo emphasized. Everyone moves on my mark. No early attacks, no hesitation. We go together or not at all. The cadets took their positions. Ji Woo watched the enemy patrol patterns, counting their movements. She waited until the moment when the enemy forces were most dispersed. Mark, the hangar erupted into coordinated chaos. Cranes suddenly activated, dropping equipment containers. Lights died, plunging everything into darkness. The enemy forces, already nervous from the ongoing battle elsewhere on the ship, panicked. The cadets struck from 3 sides at once. The enemy could not coordinate a defense against attacks coming from multiple directions. Within minutes, the hangar was secured. Load the wounded into the escape pods first, Ji Woo ordered. Then everyone else, 5 to a pod. Launch on my command. As the cadets loaded, Captain Hyan Woo's voice came through on the communication channel. All cadets, coalition reinforcements have arrived. The ship is secure. Repeat, the ship is secure. All personnel report to your stations. Relief washed through the group. Several cadets sat down hard, exhaustion finally hitting them. Ji Woo allowed herself a small breath. Then she began directing the cadets to proper medical stations instead of the escape pods. Vrex approached her, his expression a mixture of respect and confusion. Commander Lee, you saved all of us. Not one cadet died under your command. Ji Woo looked at the group. 43 cadets, all alive and relatively safe. It felt like a miracle compared to the number she remembered from Proxima. We were lucky, she said quietly. That was not luck, Tholas said, joining them. That was leadership. I have studied command strategies my entire life. What you did today, coordinating multiple species with different abilities, adapting to changing conditions, maintaining morale under extreme stress. That is taught in advanced academies as theoretical ideals. Nira folded her wings. I doubted you. We all did. You were so quiet, so unremarkable. But you were watching us all along, were you not? Learning our strengths and weaknesses. Ji Woo did not answer directly. We should get medical attention for everyone. Pilo stepped forward. Why did you hide what you are? Why let us mock you and dismiss you? Ji Woo was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out the old photograph from her pocket, the one showing her surrounded by thousands of soldiers. Because I did not want to be that person anymore. But you needed her today. She walked away toward the medical station, leaving the cadets staring after her. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Nexus Prime was filled to capacity 3 days after the attack. Every cadet, instructor, and officer who could attend was present. The ship had been secured, the enemy forces identified as a rogue mercenary group attempting to steal advanced technology. Coalition reinforcements had arrived within hours of the initial attack, but by then, the damage was done, and the heroes already made Ji Woo sat in the back row, trying to be invisible as she had always preferred. It did not work. Eyes kept turning toward her. Whispers followed her everywhere now. The silent girl who had commanded an army. The quiet human who had saved 43 cadets without losing a single one. Commander Zeltos stood at the podium, his injuries bandaged, but his voice strong. Today we recognize exceptional courage and leadership displayed during the attack on our vessel. Many acts of bravery occurred throughout the ship, but one stands above all others. Ji Woo felt her stomach tighten. She knew what was coming. Cadet Lee Ji Woo, please come forward. She did not move. The entire hall turned to look at her. Finally, Captain Hyun Woo, sitting nearby, spoke softly. You cannot hide any more, Commander. They deserve to see who saved them. Ji Woo stood slowly and walked to the front. Each step felt heavy. The hall was silent, except for her footsteps. Commander Zeltos studied her for a moment. When I assigned you to Squad 17, your file was sealed. I knew only that Earth's military had requested your admission under restricted circumstances. I did not know who you truly were. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared, showing the battle analysis from the attack. Tactical movements, casualty reports, enemy engagement statistics. During the attack, 43 cadets found themselves trapped with minimal weapons and no senior leadership. The statistical probability of survival was calculated at 12%. Under normal circumstances, we would have expected at least 30 fatalities. The numbers appeared on the screen. Ji Woo forced herself to look at them. Under Commander Lee's leadership, the survival rate was 100%. Not a single cadet was killed. Only 3 sustained injuries, all non-critical. Furthermore, the cadets eliminated or captured over 30 enemy combatants, secured a strategic position, and evacuated safely before coalition forces arrived. Commander Zeltos paused. This level of command effectiveness is extraordinary under any circumstances. It is unprecedented for unsupervised cadets facing a genuine military threat. He turned to Ji Woo directly. Your file has been declassified at the request of Earth's military command. The Coalition now knows what we should have known from the beginning. You are not merely a cadet. You are Commander Lee Ji Woo, architect of the Glacier Protocol, defender of Proxima, and one of humanity's most decorated military leaders. The hall erupted in applause. Ji Woo stood motionless, her face expressionless. When the noise died down, Commander Zeltos continued. Normally, Such deception about one's background would result in disciplinary action. However, given the circumstances and the lives you saved, the Coalition has decided to grant you a full commission as a tactical instructor at this academy. You will also receive the Star of Valor, the Coalition's highest military honor. More applause. Ji Woo accepted the medal mechanically. When it was over, she returned to her seat as quickly as possible. The ceremony continued with other commendations. Vrex received recognition for his courage in combat. Tholas was praised for his technical skills. Nira was honored for her medical work. Pilo and others received acknowledgments as well. After the ceremony, Ji Woo tried to slip away. She did not get far. A crowd of cadets surrounded her, asking questions, seeking advice, requesting autographs. She felt trapped. Captain Hyan Woo rescued her, guiding her to a quiet observation deck. They stood looking out at the stars in silence for several minutes. "You are avoiding them," Hyan Woo said finally. "I am not good with crowds. You commanded 300,000 soldiers. That was different. They were soldiers, not admirers." Hyan Woo smiled slightly. "They admire you because you saved them. That is natural." Ji Woo touched the medal on her chest. "I did not save everyone at Proxima. No, you did not. But you saved everyone here. That should count for something. It does not balance the scales. Scales are never balanced in war, Commander. You know that. The question is whether you can live with the imbalance." Ji Woo was quiet. Then she asked, "Why did Earth send me here?" "Really? Because you asked to go. You wanted a fresh start, a place where nobody knew your history. Earth agreed because they thought it might help you heal. I do not think I can heal from this. Maybe not fully. But you can move forward. You proved that these past 3 days." Before Ji Woo could respond, the door opened. Squad 17 entered, led by Vrex. They approached cautiously. "Commander Lee," Vrex began formally, then stopped. "I do not know what to call you now. Cadet feels wrong. Commander feels too formal." "Ji Woo is fine," she said quietly. "Who?" Vrex repeated. "We came to apologize. For how we treated you. For not listening. For mocking you." Tholas stepped forward, all 4 arms showing a gesture of respect in Korthak's culture. "I spent my life studying tactics and strategies. I thought I understood command. But watching you lead during the attack, I realized I understood nothing. You made decisions in seconds that would take me hours to calculate. You saw patterns I did not know existed. You led species you had only studied for months as if you had commanded them for years." Nira spoke next. "You saved my life. You saved all our lives. And we treated you like you were worthless." Ji Woo shook her head slightly. "You treated me how I appeared to be. A quiet cadet who did not speak up. That is who I chose to show you." "Why?" Pilo asked. "Why hide what you are?" Ji Woo looked out at the stars again. "Because that person, the commander, she did terrible things. Necessary things, but terrible. She made decisions that killed thousands of her own people to save millions of others. She used strategies that were called brilliant by some and monstrous by others. She won a war but lost herself in the process. She turned back to them. I came here hoping to be just Ji Woo, a normal cadet learning normal things. But that person does not exist. I am the commander, whether I want to be or not." Vrex placed a massive hand gently on her shoulder. "Then be both. Be Ji Woo who wants peace, and be the commander when people need you to be. You do not have to choose only one. That is easier said than done. Most worthwhile things are," Nira said. Over the following weeks, life on the Nexus Prime slowly returned to normal. Repairs were completed. New security measures were implemented. The War Games tournament was postponed and eventually canceled. Given the circumstances, Ji Woo was offered the position of tactical instructor. She accepted, though she insisted on keeping a low profile. She taught small classes on strategic thinking and crisis management. Her classes were always full. Students came not just from the academy, but from various coalition military branches, wanting to learn from the legendary commander. She was also offered command positions in 3 different coalition fleets. She declined them all. One evening, she found Squad 17 waiting outside her quarters. They had brought food and drinks, insisting she join them for what they called a squad meeting. In the recreation room, surrounded by cadets who had become friends, Ji Woo felt something she had not felt in years. Not happiness exactly, but something close to peace. "Tell us about Proxima," Pylo asked. "If you are willing." Ji Woo hesitated. She had never spoken about it to anyone except military counselors. But looking at their faces, faces of people who had trusted her with their lives and survived because of it, she began to talk. She told them about the impossible situation, how the Krotix invasion had been expected to last weeks before human defenses collapsed, how she had taken command of scattered forces and welded them into an army, how every decision had been a choice between bad options and worse ones. She told them about the Glacier Protocol, the strategy that had won the war. It had involved sacrificing entire defensive positions to lure the enemy into kill zones. Thousands had died following her orders, but millions had been saved. "Did you know?" Tholas asked quietly. "When you gave those orders, did you know those people would die?" "Yes," Ji Woo said simply. "I knew. Every commander knows. The difference is whether you let that knowledge stop you from doing what must be done." "How do you live with that?" Nira asked. "Not well," Ji Woo admitted. "I resigned the day the war ended. I could not command anyone else to die. I could not look at more faces and calculate their deaths. But you commanded us," Brex pointed out, "and none of us died, because the situation allowed for it. If I had needed to sacrifice some of you to save the others, I would have. That is what command means." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Pylo spoke. "That is why you tried to be invisible. You were afraid you would have to make those choices again." "Yes, but you did make them again, and everyone lived. Maybe that means something." Ji Woo considered this. "Maybe, or maybe I was just lucky this time." "Luck helps," Brex said, pouring drinks for everyone. "But skill matters more. You have both." As the evening continued, Ji Woo found herself smiling occasionally, telling stories, answering questions, even laughing at Vrex's terrible jokes. The weight she had carried for so long did not disappear, but it felt slightly lighter. Later, after the others had left, Pylo stayed behind. "Ji Woo, may I ask you something?" "Go ahead. Do you regret coming here?" "To the academy?" Ji Woo thought about it. "No, I came here hoping to hide from what I was. I failed at that. But I learned something else." "What?" "That I cannot stop being a commander. It is part of who I am, like breathing. But I can choose when and how to use those skills. I can be the quiet person who watches and learns. And when necessary, I can be the person who leads. Both can exist." Pylo nodded. "That is wisdom." "That is acceptance," Ji Woo corrected. Wisdom would have been figuring this out years ago. After Pylo left, Ji Woo sat alone in the quiet room. She pulled out the old photograph and looked at it for a long time. The woman in that picture looked hard and cold. But Ji Woo could see other things now, too. She saw determination. She saw someone willing to carry impossible burdens so others would not have to. She saw a leader dot. She took out a new photograph, one taken during the commendation ceremony. It showed her surrounded by Squad 17, all of them smiling. She placed it next to the old one, two versions of herself. The commander who had saved millions through terrible choices, and Ji Woo, who had saved 43 through careful planning and genuine care for their lives. Both were real. Both were her. She could live with that dot the next morning. Ji Woo arrived early for her first official class as an instructor. The room filled quickly with eager cadets from multiple species. They looked at her with respect and curiosity. She stood before them and spoke in her quiet voice. "My name is Ji Woo. Before we begin, I need you to understand something. Command is not about giving orders. It is not about being the loudest voice or the strongest warrior. Command is about making decisions when nobody else can, bearing responsibility when it crushes you, and still getting up the next day to do it again." She paused, looking at each face. "I will teach you strategies and tactics. I will show you how to analyze situations and coordinate forces. But the most important thing I can teach you is this: never seek command for glory or power. Seek it because people need you, and you are willing to carry the weight of their lives." A young cadet raised her hand. "Commander Lee, is it true you never lost a single cadet during the attack?" "It is true, but I have lost many soldiers in other battles. I carry all of them with me. That is the price of command." Another cadet spoke up. "But you still command. Why, if the price is so high?" Ji Woo was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled slightly, something rare for her. "Because sometimes the quiet girl who everyone laughs at is exactly who they need when everything falls apart. And if I can be that person, then the price is worth paying." The class began, and Ji Woo taught them about tactics, strategy, and leadership. But more than that, she taught them about responsibility, sacrifice, and the strength it takes to stand up when everyone else has fallen. She was no longer hiding. She was no longer running from who she had been. She was Ji Woo, and she was the commander. And finally, she could be both.